All right, how we doing out there, leaders? We're on to part two. Let's go. You all are doing so great. Appreciate you guys taking the time, investing in this presentation. Make sure if you need a quick break, get some water, go stretch, get outside, get some food. I'm actually going to show you guys what I typically eat for breakfast. Usually, is going to be fruit. So I got my banana today, grapefruit, and I also have blueberries. Blueberries being one of my favorite fruits. So I'm gonna break down to you guys why I choose to eat this instead of these. Now, anything that comes through our five senses, whether that's sight, sound, taste, smell, or feeling, becomes who we are. We ingest these things, which is the process of taking in these foods or energy, and then our body goes through the process of digestion, which means that we break down that food so that our body or our mind can absorb it. So, the reason I choose to eat fruit for breakfast, I know that this fruit is natural to the world and it's going to give me the right type of energy that I need to be vibrant and energetic throughout the day. And the reason I don't choose to eat this for breakfast is because on the box, well, first it comes in a box, in a plastic bag. But secondly, on this box, it also says that it contains bioengineered food ingredients. And so, me knowing what I know now, I've learned that bioengineered food means that it's not natural to the natural world. It's been modified. Now, if I'm a natural person, why would I intake something that is unnatural to me? That's gonna make me feel and be unnatural to myself. So going back to having that strong relationship with yourself, it's important to know who you are is what you eat. So make sure you guys get some good food out there. I'm gonna smack down on this grapefruit. Stay tuned. Part two, let's go. All right, athletes and leaders, welcome back. This is part two. You are what you eat. Now, when I say eat, I mean more than just the food that we eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're talking about things that we see, things that we hear, things that we taste, things that we smell, things that we touch or feel. Anything that we can process through those five senses become who we are. When we ingest and digest the things that we eat, our body is going to react to them. So, in this part, we're going to go over four areas of our diets. First, we're going to talk about our food and our nutrition diet. Next, we're going to talk about our social media and internet online diet. Third, we're going to talk about our friends and our family diet and the people we also surround ourselves with, similar to how we talked about in part one with changing our association. Lastly, we're going to go over our knowledge and our wisdom diet, the things that we ingest through not only school, but our life experiences and experiences from others that we learn from. Now, starting off, food and nutrition. I always like to pose the question to people, do you eat to feel like it tastes good? Or do you eat because it's good for you? Now, 50% of your mood for each day is controlled by your food. So if we decide to eat food that is low in energy, low in vibrance, is not actually natural food, then our bodies are going to react to that food and feel low energy, feel low vibrance. If we decide to ingest foods that are natural to our bodies, full of life, full of vibration, then our body is going to also react to that as well in a more positive way. The thing about the human body is that it is actually not equipped to digest anything that is unnatural to the body. And remember, digest simply means how we break down the things that we ingest so that it can be absorbed. So think about a big Lego structure, and then we break apart the Legos into individual blocks. And then those individual blocks all serve a purpose in our body for a certain function. Could be for energy, could be to transport things in our body. Mostly, it's going to be for energy and brain power. Now, this is very important because most of our diet is going to be used for brain energy and how we function and think throughout the day. Because as we learned earlier, training our mind, anything we think is then going to become how we feel, how we react emotionally, and then how we act and do what we do and create those habits and lifestyles. So we have to always bring it all the way back to what it starts with, how we treat ourselves. Next, let's talk about social media. Since everyone seems to be online these days, especially now during COVID, it's easy to get trapped and sucked in to the trap. When you realize that online profiles of people you see on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter are simply false personas of a person showing the world who they want the world to see them as. Remember, all the pictures you see on there are simply the highlight reel. They've, just like you, have physically taken the picture the way they want it to look, and they've written out the caption for what they wanted to say, to show to you. You don't get to see their daily life, how they really feel, and what they really do on a daily basis. You only get to see what they want you to show you. When you spend multiple hours every day watching these online false personas and people, it creates a cycle in your mind of always comparing yourself to someone else. You see what they have, and you start to wonder why you don't have it. This is going to start to lower your self esteem, your self confidence, because you don't look like or have what they simply, again, are showing you. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have it. You are what you watch and who you subscribe to. Remember, this is food and things that we eat as well. We're eating this through our eyes, through our ears, and our eyes take in so much information through the day. This can really be draining. Be careful of that social media diet. All right, now let's talk about friends and family. I got some family photos up. People in your life are a direct reflection, a mirror of certain parts of yourself. So this kind of goes back to the first topic we talked about, building a strong relationship with yourself. Remember, there are certain things that you don't know about yourself. People in your life also show you things about yourself you don't know. If anyone's heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together, you always see crows flying with crows. You only see eagles flying with eagles. You see pigeons flying with pigeons. They don't fly with different types of birds. They always fly with their own kind. And this goes with us as well. The people we surround ourselves with are also who we flock with. How those people in your life treat you is also a reflection of how you inside of you treat yourself. So again, back to that new rule that we learned, treat yourself how you want others to treat you. When you start to embody this and act on this new rule, then the people in your life will start to reflect that. Some people might not be in your life anymore. You might have some new people start to enter your life. Both of these are okay because you gave yourself permission to treat yourself how you want to be treated. All right, let's talk about that knowledge and wisdom. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is important to understand before we dive into this. Knowledge is simply knowing something, but wisdom is expressing or acting on that knowledge. I know that I should eat grapefruits and blueberries, like I showed you guys before. I know this in my mind, that's my knowledge. The wisdom comes from eating those things on a daily basis. Now, if I didn't decide to eat those things, I would simply just have the knowledge, but not acting on it is where the fault comes in. And we start to see ignorance in ourselves because we feel like we know better. Now, deep learning comes from deep listening. Also, we have to understand the difference between listening and hearing. Every day we hear things. We hear the birds outside, we hear cars drive by, we hear our phone ring, we hear our parents screaming at us to do our homework. But what are we really listening to? What we listen to is the things that we pay attention to. We put our mind on those things. So, deep learning is going to come from deep listening. When we really start to focus on the things that we hear, we'll begin to understand and learn from them the way we need to. Now, I really like this line right here. Experience gives you the test first and the lessons later. Life is going to hit you with some hard tests. That's why I said all the hard lessons earned. You earned it after you went through the test. The test happens first, then you learn from that. I know if I put my hand on the stove, it's going to burn my hand. I learned that through experience. I went through the test of touching the stove, and now I've learned the lesson that it's too hot. I can't do that anymore. So, an example of that applying to school is learning how to think independently, critically, and doing your own research. Now, I'm not saying that school is not important. I believe it is for certain things, such as this learning how to think independently and conducting your own research. We have to understand that just because someone tells us something doesn't mean we should automatically think that it's the right thing or that we should believe it. We should always question it first. That's where the independent and critical thinking comes in as individuals. Then we conduct our own research on what the information they told us. And then we can conduct our own opinion and answer based on that. So, how you decipher and apply what you need to know is the important thing here. Some lessons are better lived to be understood. And a lot of people that we don't even know, that were been here way before we have actually already lived through and died through the lessons so that we don't have to. This is why learning our history is important. This is why learning your history is important for you. Now, I'm going to pose another question at the end of part 2 for you. Keep this in mind as well. Whoever the person is that you want to become, ask yourself, what does that person ingest and digest every day? What is the diet of the person I want to be? Take a minute, think on that. Write down your answer. Even if you don't know what it is, that's okay. Give yourself permission to answer. And with that, I'll see you guys in part 3.